Hello, hello, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. How's it going? Yeah, links are currently on. I'm going to turn them off, only because I've actually got mods now, so multiple mods that can actually handle this. So y'all mods will be able to sort through anyone who wants to send a link through. So I can turn that filter back on, because we did just get a bunch of spam before the stream started, and it was quite irksome. So I'm actually going to go turn that on now. I've been trying to fix a few things up, not only here, but actually on my legit, my website that I haven't touched in what feels like 1,000 years other than the store. I actually went through and refreshed all of that stuff as well to reflect the fact that I actually stream now. It didn't have any stream links before on my website. Only a link to my old YouTube page. I'm broke.fyi. That is the joint. But I fixed some things up. I added some stuff to the gallery. I added some actual new art to the gallery, not stuff from 2017. Yeah, let me navigate over to Nightbot. But I also, as you can see on my main Twitch page, I finally added panels. I've got all the panels now. I looked at a bunch of other Twitch pages that I love and respect and admire, and I stole from them whole cloth. Basically finding out how professionals run their Twitch pages. And I think I've got most of the things figured out. Not all the things. There's still plenty of stuff I need to figure out, because I don't think any rule thing pops up if you click the chat as like a first-time viewer, and I still don't understand how to do that, so I need to figure out how to do that. Because I really like that feature, when you go into someone's stream and you click on the chat, and then it says, hey, before you chat, here are some rules. And I don't have that set up. I wish that day would come, Lyra, I truly do. I don't think it's in the cards for an artist, but who knows. All right, let's go back to spam protection, and I'm going to turn links off. The rest of the stuff can stay. Eventually, I might turn on the repetitions filter just when people get real wild, but that's mostly for robots, honestly. We all know everyone here is very chill. Very chill.
I try to remember, but when everything is coming back to me, I feel as if my memory...
Beep, beep, beep. I feel like there's also a bunch of Nightbot commands I forgot to put in because I told you I would forget. So hopefully someone can remind me after the stream which ones I'm still missing, because I know there was a couple of good ones that y'all suggested. I put too many buttons on the websites, that's the trick.
Go on.
Now I'm gonna go through and find some good references for our artwork today. Need to go on Picrepo for this, mostly because I don't live near a desert and I want to paint a desert today. It's a lot, honestly, the Twitch backend, and it just keeps expanding. When you reach affiliate, you get new stuff. When you reach partner, you get new stuff. The amount of little buttons and words all over the Twitch page, and for someone with a bad attention span, or if you get confused by too many words, like I do, it's a lot. You just kind of look at it and you go, I'll look at this later, and then you close it over and over again. But yeah, today I want to do some of that good desert stuff. I want to get some good colors and shapes. Some of the best shapes in the game are out in the desert. I'm talking rocks. I'm talking plants. I'm talking big, big skies. I'm going to try to use all the shapes today. Squares, rectangles, I don't care. I'm going to go wild. I'm going to get a whole bunch of different references with different lighting conditions because I'm still, I mean, I'll be concepting it out as we go because that's, you know, my vibe. But I know overall what I want the idea to be. I know what I want the feel to be. But I'm still trying to work out the exact mechanics of the piece. This one might turn into a print, so I'm formatting it as if it was going to become a print. Even if it doesn't, it's nice to have that formatting in place on the off chance. Something I learned a very long time ago is, you know, it doesn't hurt you to make your square a certain size at the very beginning so that if even years down the road you're like, I liked that old piece of art, I want to turn that into something, you still can. By the way, got some good leads on the creation of prints. I don't want to let any cats out of any bags. But I might be placing an order soon. So if y'all are looking to get some of those prints. Hubba hubba ding ding. Oh, this one has beautiful colors. Yes, yes. Okay. That should be all the background reference that I need for now. Yes, Pachi. I'm looking into cat prints specifically. Nuri, Action Hank Beard, recommended them for their prints. And, like, I didn't know what kind of paper was available in the print game. But he showed off his, and he does, you know, primarily Copic stuff. And he was showing off that Yoshi's Island piece that he got prints of. And the paper is immaculate. It's like actual thick cardstock with texture, and the reproduction looks like reproduced marker drawing, not like a digital print of a marker drawing. So that was enough to convince me. Once I saw those photos, I was like, okay, that's what I need to go for. I need to get on that train, and I need to figure it out. Also, when I went on the site for a quote estimate, the prices were very reasonable, pretty much exactly where I wanted them to be. It all depends on what the shipping will be to me, because I don't know where they're out of. I assume America. And if that's the case, it's going to cost me a little bit more to get them shipped across the border. But even with that offset, I think it's still going to be great, because I want that high quality. So that's going to be the move there. As soon as I saw it, I couldn't believe that paper. I was so, like, the last prints I got were, I don't know, almost 10 years ago. And they were good prints, but it was like pretty basic paper, you know, flat, smooth, digital prints. And to see something with actual texture, I was excited. I was very excited. I'll nab one more reference here for the road. Something weird. I kind of like this environment that I'm seeing on my screen. And then we're going to go and we're going to play around. I want to do something very specific. We're doing Sonic 30th anniversary art today. So I'm going to flip it over. Oop. And my Photoshop screen is hanging all the way down, so I'm going to move it on up. There we go. Get it centered up again. Beautiful. So today, break my vow. I willingly return to the world of Sonic the Hedgehog. And listen, I don't dislike Sonic the Hedgehog, but I'm bad at drawing it. It's a struggle for me. Hurts me. I don't understand their little shapes. But if it's a challenge, I'm gonna bowl through. So I'm going to take a little photograph, and I am going to get right into drawing. It's very true. The only way to get better is with practice, so we're going to put the practice in today. But of course, in proper matte fashion, in proper Eiffel art fashion, it's mostly going to be a background painting and then a little character in there somewhere. I pride myself on being the modern Where's Waldo / Where's Waldy. Waldy? Wally. I think that's the British version. Author of the Times. Hey, I'm doing all right. I'm doing very well today. Very excited to start drawing. Now, I truly wish, because I have a playlist in Spotify, I wish that I could just play all the Knuckles songs on loop today, but I definitely would get DMCA'd into oblivion. It's unfortunate, but that is the truth of the world. I had half considered doing this as a private stream on Discord and actually playing the Knuckles raps over it. But I thought, nah, it's going to be more fun if I just do a big old stream. We can all imagine. All right, I have tweeted the tweet. No more hesitating. Let's just get right in. I'm going to open up all my references, and we're going to go right on in. Would help if I actually turned my remote on. Now I've got a host of references for this. I am going to put all of them into the reference folder or section on the Discord, !Discord in chat if you'd like to join our Discord. But I am going to add all of the references there to the art references section so you can see. I've got quite a few. Some of them I won't be using at all. Some of them I'll probably be using quite a bit. But they are for the tone and the feel of the desert environment that I'm trying to go for. It's true, I see y'all on there all the time playing little games. Okay, now I'm going to just put these references all over my screen so I can see them at any given time, and I find that's really helpful just to sort of get an at-a-glance feel for the background. Now I'm going to zoom out. Means I need to decenter. This never looks quite right when I do it on stream. But, as you know, when I first start drawing a background, I like to do it very thumbnail style. So the way that this goes is probably going to shift a couple of times. So just bear with me while I recalibrate here. Because it's important to me to understand the picture at a glance, not to really zoom in on it, not to do any details, but just to get an idea of what I'm doing. The sort of squint test. All right, we are ready for spaghetti. I'm going to take the idea of these references. I'm going to build out a horizon line first. That's the absolute first thing I need in the background. I'm just going to get a very basic line here. I'm going to go real small, ultra thumbnail. And I'm going to sketch out forms in the background. Now, do I want... I know that I want those kind of very sudden, tall, jutting mountains. But I also want a flat level plane on the distant plateaus. Something like this. Because one of the most dynamic things you can have is shapes and lines intersecting. When they cut across each other, it creates dynamism and it creates focus in the picture. Oh, I didn't realize there'd be a fun little animated banner for when the challenge is halfway done. So we are half of the way to the crayon-only stream goal for the Channel Points challenge. That's very exciting. Okay, so now we have this foreground area, which I'm going to make slightly off kilter. I don't want it to just be a straight line. I want it to be an uneven plane, that it has a bit of slant momentum. To achieve this even further, I'm going to actually put a mountainous shape here, so that it's not just coming in from the side as a straight line. Little mountains, big mountains, little shapes, big shapes, light shining down. I want the light to be coming from like this angle, a low angle from behind, because this is the direction I want the character to ride in. We're going to have that fighting freak Knuckles flying in from this side. Shadows being cast. I want like lots of shadows being cast like this. Cutting in front of and across shapes. We start with a simple line, and then we bend, shift, and move it so that it becomes more dynamic as it goes across. And I want a dark patch of ground in front of this mountain back here. And I can cut and sculpt around these mountains. Get some good shape blocks. Once we get a lot of our shapes in place, we're going to be starting to push some of those color ideas, and then we're going to enlarge the picture again. Make it nice and big so that we can get not only tighter shape blocks, but also more room to add more colors and things like that. dynamic cloud forms up here. These sort of striped out clouds, a lot of upper atmosphere turmoil. Again, we want the feeling of movement in this picture. We want it to feel like it's really rushing from left to right, just like the Sonic games do. Because of that, we'll build in more slopes. Just kind of roughing out some shadows and ideas and blocks. I really want this piece to feel multi-planed, because that was one of my favorite things about the original Sonic games. 1, 2, and 3 had this great multi-plane parallax effect that I only recently learned was actually a two-dimensional plane thing where they just cut the sprites in the sky into little segments and then shifted them. So they moved at different rates, essentially, like different strips of paper laying next to each other, which I never knew. I thought it was layered, like they had multiple layers of sprites. That's not the case. Which is why you don't actually see those sprites intersect with each other. They don't go over one another. They just move parallax. There are so many interesting optical illusions that are used in game design, especially those old games, because they just, every single day, the prerogative of save memory. You only have so many, like, kilobytes on this cartridge to do everything you need to do. Like that original, you know when it goes like, Sega, like that original Sega thing wasn't even going to be part of the game, but there was like a segment later in the game where Sonic plays in like a rock band, and there was going to be vocal samples used in that segment, but then they scrapped it, like pretty close to the end of production, so they added in that Sega because they had room suddenly, which is really neat. Oh, sick. Instructions on how to do the stream chat thing. That is very nice. I will definitely get that figured out if someone reminds me by the end of stream, because I'm going to get lost in the sauce here. But by the end of stream, I would like to add that so we have it for the next stream, because it's a very good feature, a very important feature. Okay, now back here we have no other mountains. We do have a mountain here, like a hill here, and then a big mountain in the back. And also a little mountain here. I'm going to leave this space negative, only because I know that the value of the shading down here is going to be darker than the sky. And then I want a break where the sky is bright, and then cloud forms. that are light pushing through and dark above, sort of a gradient. And then some sort of weird parallel lines down here that I only really put for more forward momentum, but also just to make it not feel completely like this, like straight parallel. That's a bit too, I don't know, obvious, I guess. Instead getting more of almost like a banana pan going from one side of the frame to the other. Not actually a banana pan, because that would be quite a bit more dramatic. This isn't like a camera move. It's just a big wide open space. Now that we have that, where are we going to put Knuckles? Well, as I described earlier, we do have this negative space right here, which feels like it could be a good candidate. We could also put Knuckles down in front of the dark area, because Knuckles is a pretty light character. He's sort of a medium red pink, almost like a coral. So we could put him in front of the dark area and he would contrast really strongly. I think it ultimately comes down to how much momentum do we want to push in that direction. Because alternatively, if we wanted to do kind of like a Western epic painting, we could have a stoic Knuckles. Pensive, even. He could be standing on this rock, you know, like. So maybe that actually feels good. I mean, the running pose, the movement, the momentum, the forward movement, that's very Sonic. But it's not necessarily I mean, Knuckles, technically speaking, can run almost as fast as Sonic in the games. But his thing isn't running. His thing is, like, knuckling through it. His thing is, like, being strong and sturdy. So it'd be kind of sick to actually have him on this squared-off platform top. Kind of looking off. Like a big Old West panorama. And I think that's what we'll do. So now that I've got my sketch, I'm going to put in my color study, basically. I'm going to assemble some ideas for light and shadow. And then I'm going to expand the piece, and that's when we'll sketch our little buddy. Now, I did do that classic thing where you draw on the background layer, the locked background layer that doesn't have transparency. That's fine. It's only a sketch layer, which means I just have to duplicate and then turn the bottom layer into a flat white layer, and then I can just, boop, turn down the opacity just fine. And as a handy trick, if you actually ever need to get transparency back for this background layer, it's like, look, if I paint under this layer, like I'm on the layer below my sketch right now, if I like paint, you can't see it because this layer it was a background layer, right? But if you go into channels, and then there's a little button down at the bottom that's like sort of a dotted line circle, and you click that, it selects all of those pixels. And then if you go back and hit the delete key, and then usually what I do is I lock the pixels and fill with some black. It just kind of brings back some of those line qualities. You'll notice that suddenly it is, in fact, very transparent. Look at that. It's like we never drew on that flat background layer at all, and we still preserve all of the line. Just fine. It's like magic, right? That's your Photoshop tip of the day. Now, this is not the color that we want for this background, so... Okay. I'm going to start with the sky like I always like to do. I like to go back to front, kind of oil painting style, I guess. Although even when I'm doing gouache, I tend to go sky first. It's a very relaxing starting point for me. I did forget to set my stretch timer, so I'm going to go do that now. I'm actually going to like take a stretch, which I don't usually do when I forget to set the stretch timer, but I was just realizing like, oh, my back's kind of stiff. I wonder when the stretch timer is going to go off. The answer is never, unless I set it. So let's take our first stretch of the day. We are about 40 minutes into the stream now. And grab yourself a water, too, if you got one nearby, or your beverage of choice. Let's stretch it out. All right. Yeah, crayons are wild. I haven't used crayons in a very long time, but I guess, that's what's going to make that stream so bonkers. I know there's a couple of unorthodox techniques you can do with crayons. You can melt them. I mean, they're wax. So basically anything you can do with a wax pastel, you could probably do with a crayon. But I'm very interested to see how that whole thing goes. I'm going to be using multiple kinds of papers. I've got smooth paper and rough watercolor type paper. So I'm going to get a huge chunky brush, big square brush. And I'm just going to go right in with that sky color. I'm going to put a dual brush effect on it just for funzos. And I'm even going to square off the edge. I'm going to change the minimum diameter just so it's even chunkier. And we're just going to go ham here. Really push these colors through. And actually, kind of like if you were doing an oil painting, I'm just leaving that red underneath because sometimes it's really helpful to tint your canvas when you're doing a painting. So some of that underlying color sort of peeks through. I'm going in with big blocks. And just funky shapes, weird strokes. Nothing too fancy. Oh, Pluto, thank you so much for gifting that sub. Special early birthday gift. Now I want a nice dark edge on the mountains over here, because I know that this big mountain here is going to have that big bright color on it. I'm going to go in with the dark color first. And then I'll light it with that bright blazing orange color. If I was a robot master, what would my function be and what would my battle gimmick be? You mean from Mega Man? I would be Brush Man, and I would have ink-based techniques. I would have like a big fude, like a big calligraphy brush, Japanese calligraphy brush, and I would like attack with it and also like shoot ink out of it and stuff. And I could also move through the ink like a Squid Kid from Splatoon. That would be a fun drawing challenge to do a Robot Master version, especially trying to capture that sort of mid to late 80s Mega Man style, like the first 4 or 5 Mega Man games, that kind of art. We're going to get these middle rocks here. casting a long shadow. Some brighter around like this. I like the idea of just a little bit of light hitting little Knuckles here. I'm just going to color in with kind of Knuckles' base color, which is this bright red, orange, pink. Just so I know where he's situated in the piece. I want to have a bright mountain in the back here. Kind of outline the character. Now a bit of desert shrubbery, some environmental kind of detritus here just to block out and interrupt a lot of these shapes, because I don't want a shape going all the way across the whole thing. Keep those things interesting by interrupting them as they go. Now I'm kind of second guessing this background. This is kind of my first roadblock, is this sort of background mountain behind Knuckles. I don't super love it. I think I might get rid of it. Try replacing it with something dark, because Knuckles is bright, and especially if I change some of the lighting here, which I would like to do actually, to add a shot of light across where Knuckles is standing, like really bright light, to really highlight him in the scene. Actually, I can turn off the sketch now because I've got all of my shapes in place. So yeah, to really highlight where Knuckles is standing, kind of this shape of light leading up to him so that he is also lit by the sunlight. And then also a little bit in shadow. Kind of thing. But then the background rock, this mountain back here, I can now make pretty dark, so change it to be more like do that, then Knuckles is gonna really pop out in the immediate foreground off the top of this land here. And then I can cut back down into that with some sky color. Make that look a little bit more dynamic. Some blue there in the reflected light. Help even out the tone and also keep this thing really, really colorful, despite the fact that it's a desert, which, you know, normally I think a lot of people think of a desert as being very monochromatic, but deserts are full of color. Absolutely packed to the brim. Now we can get some of these sort of structural shapes in place. Start moving these things in and around. Get more texture and feel. Now I'm actually going to remember to save this one this time. It's fun just kind of having this glowing blob representing Knuckles in the picture. I wonder how it would look if this mountain was more dramatic. Maybe popping a bit more. Do a quick cut and paste just so that I can also erase portions that I don't need necessarily. I.e. the stuff that's behind the rock that Knuckles is standing on. So now suddenly you've got this boxed in kind of value source. Because on this side it's like just this absolute monolith of dark value. You've got a dark value diagonal here, so it's like this, and then medium tone boxing in where Knuckles is. I think the only other dark tone we need now is the detailing on the rock where Knuckles is, which actually should have a lot more dark detail. Now I'm going to change up some of the levels of the background mountains to make them a little bit more interesting and engaging. Okay, and now some foreground, including some shrubbery. Which I actually didn't pick any good examples of. I need to get some more greens in here. I need something with a little bit more blue in it, I think. Yeah, that's... Okay, I think this is a really good starting point. So now we're going to take what we've got here, which is very small. We're working at 900 by 506, which is generally the size that I would post to like Twitter with, because you don't really need anything bigger than that when you post online. But for print and other things like that, obviously I need a much larger format, and also just to paint in all the little details I want to paint in. I'm going to make it much bigger. I'm going to boost it up to 3,000 high, like 5,500 across. Okay, now it's huge. Very, very, very big picture. So this is 100% zoom. You can see all those little strokes we made. You can see Knuckles kind of looking like Eggman. I see Itachi said literally the exact same thing. No, that's Knuckles. But it does look a lot like Eggman. Like if I get a little bit of dark brown. And the little glasses. Like that's my guy Eggman. But now I banish him to the Shadow Realm. So I'm going to take this picture and we're gonna look at, so here's our original sketch. And then here is the color study that we did, getting the lighting and the tone and the feel. So we're going to tighten up all of those shapes and colors, of course. But the first thing I would like to do is actually draw Knuckles into the picture here. I'm going to go ahead and lower the opacity so I can still know where to draw him. And then I'm going to start a new layer. I'll turn off all of my fancy brush stuff, and I'm going to go to a smooth... What are we going to do? Like a 5? Yeah, 5 is good. We're going to go in nice and tight here and draw Knuckles. Now, this is the part I struggle with because I don't draw Sonic characters ever. And when I do, I feel like it's really bad. So it might take a little bit of doing. I also need to figure out the pose I want to go with. But the general, I'm going to do a rough under sketch first and then a final sketch on top of that. So I need to get the proportions. So Sonic character proportions, very intense. They're kind of like 3 heads high, almost, maybe 2.5. So it's kind of like this and then this. It's more or less how they are. They have huge heads, absolutely gigantic heads. Monstrous. So I want him to be looking pensively out over the horizon. Well, the fundamental underlying problem with Sonic characters is, obviously if you draw them a lot, it's not as much of a problem, but you can't apply a lot of good anatomy rules to Sonic characters because they act a lot like other anime characters, like Goku, for instance. When you try to do a 360 view of Goku, his hair at some point will just flip because it's not in 3 dimensions. It's a 2D. It was only ever originally intended to be drawn flat. And then when he got animated, it became a problem for people. They never quite understood how to draw Goku's hair when you spin around him. Sonic characters are also very much in that sort of world. It became a lot better when they translated them to 3D, but it's still kind of wonky. So, like, even though I know that Knuckles' nose comes to a point, I can't go like this because that's not how you draw Knuckles. There are style rules inside of the world of the characters. But the main thing with Sonic characters is they got the muzzle. That's the starting block. It's very similar to the Mickey Mouse muzzle. And then from there, you gotta kind of put a little nose on there. I think the nose, still needs to stick out a little bit more. All right, stretch timer's going off, so I'm going to reset that timer. I mean, I'm having fun, don't worry. I know, like, I'm saying all these things. I'm not stressed about it, though, for real. If I ever truly get pressed, I can just DM Tyson. My buddy Tyson, like, directs all the Sonic stuff now, and he can tell me how to do it. That guy's got the gift for Sonic. Okay, now Knuckles has sort of almond-shaped eyes. This. He's got pointy head. The point's a little further back. Gotta remember to stay loose with my pencil strokes. That's key. And his hands are absolutely gigantic, proportionally, which I love. I love the way that it looks, the modern Sonic characters. I guess taking cues from the classic design, but especially when the new shorts got sort of greenlit and put into production, Tyson took a lot of those old school, like Sonic 2, Sonic 3 style designs, and then really pushed them to the absolute maximum. Their hands are just like bonkers big. But especially Knuckles. I mean, he's Knuckles. He can punch through mountains. And he's chest forward. He's very strong and proud. He's got that big pose. Absolutely does not chuckle. And then he's got what I always referred to as a child as banana hair. The two in the front are smaller, and then the ones behind are much longer. Ooh, quesadilla for supper. That sounds good. You're gonna get me thinking about supper early today. An interesting thing, and I don't know if this is true or apocryphal, but an interesting thing for design elements I saw for Knuckles, because I recently watched a documentary about Sonic 3 and Knuckles in preparation for this. Because Sonic's tummy is a circle, like the sun, for Knuckles, they chose a moon design. So on his collar, he has this moon shape, a crescent moon coming down. And I feel like when it was originally sketched, it might have just been like, oh, it looks cool. It's like a shape that breaks up the rest. It kind of looks like a cool necklace. But I also like the idea that even if, like, in retrospect, they went back and they're like, yeah, it's a sun and moon design because they're opposites, I still think that's really cute. Get out of here, Sonic's tummy. And Knuckles has a really short bod. Maybe I'll do it more like put up your Duke style. First I want to make sure that I get the legs in place. More like a straight line than a curve. And then big old feet. Block them in very generally. Yeah, I like the hands crossing in front of the body. That looks good. That. Tougher than the rest of them, the best of them. And he's got like a little cute zigzaggy tail, which sadly will be hidden by his hand. I really like where his hand is placed, so you won't be able to see his tail, but trust me, it's very cute. When I was young, I was always like, oh, his shoes are like Legos. He has these kind of iron girder plates on top of his shoes, as if they've been riveted down. Alright, that Knuckles ain't bad. It'll do. It'll do. Okay, so we're gonna have that little Knuckles right there. Nice and small in the comp so that we can really maximize the scale of the piece. So let's go in and fancy him up now. Let's get the clean line. I'm going to get rid of the background layer and make this one transparent. Body's, it's like torso's even shorter than I have it here. Even up here. The mouths have always been very vexing. Feels like they're supposed to be on the side like this. My inclination is always to draw it kind of in the middle. I'm unsure if it really warrants an extra line here. Maybe I'll just leave it like that for now. That looks pretty good. I know that this area under here is going to be technically behind the rock that he's standing on. So I'm just going to put a straight line across so that I can autofill when it comes time to color him in, which is going to be very soon here. Might need to change the head shape just a little bit, but other than that, I'm feeling quite good. Little knuckle. Right, just... time for a bit of a reshape. All right, little Knuckles. Time to finish up your environment here. Finish up. We have a long way to go in this environment. So where to begin? Well, why not begin with the same place where we started last time and just go right up to the sky? Now I'll zoom out again and tackle this problem similarly to how I first started it, which is glancing at a distance, I'm able to better understand the entire picture, better understand the values and the relationships between them. But now, since the resolution is so much bigger, I can put tons more detail in. And basically, as I finish these steps, I can start zooming in more and more. And it is time to do another stretch, so let's get on up. Max Daisy, hello, hello, hello. How y'all doing, Raiders? Hope you're doing well today. Now, I think the most complicated thing in this whole joint is going to be this mountain range back here. I love the colors. I love the feeling of it, but it needs shape. It needs some substance. It needs definition. And that's scary. When you have a bunch of really pretty little blobs that look nice, it's scary to go in and mess with them. But, gotta do it. So let's just get right in there. Luckily, we have the colors established, so I'm not worried about that. But we want to get some of those layered rocks, some of those painted mountains. Okay, so I'm basically just checking the definition on top of each of these mountain peaks, trying to flatten them out a little bit. We have more of a measured plane, and now I can go in and shore up some of these shadows. And if I work in lines and layers, I can make them look more like those layered rocks. And the transfer up just a little. I like this really rich orange color as kind of a halo light around the dark mountain that lies behind Knuckles. Now I want this part down here to be darker. I had it originally kind of light muted, similar to what I had in the background there, but I'm realizing that I want this to be a darker color because the platform that Knuckles is standing on has that really bright spotlight on it. And if I want the spotlight to pop, then all I need to do is put a dark sort of block next to that, and bam, it sort of throws everything into much sharper contrast. Knuckles is there in my heart, just like he always is. It's true, my little character does light up when I'm speaking. Isn't it cute? It's the magic. The internet. I kind of want to push the dynamism of this rock mountain in the background. It looks a little weird, kind of jutting inward as it goes higher. I almost want to make it precarious, like scary. I'm going to start a new layer and experiment with this idea. Make it jutting out like this. In just a very bonkers way. And then on the other side. This feels a lot more imposing to me. Tachi, thank you so much for gifting that sub. Thank you, thank you. A sketch prompt request, you say? Now, how am I even supposed to begin to draw this? Thank you, Brandy. Okay, let's do this sketch request. It's done. And now big brain energy tails. Is that another meme? I'm just not a big meme guy. I don't know memes, so I always feel like I'm 1,000 years old. Good night, Redbird. All right, there's our big brain energy tales. Made it further in math than I ever did.
Are you leaving me?
We're all leaving. Can you feel me with you right now?
Thank you so much. Having a lot of fun working this background, especially this area that I was a little reticent about. Sort of fleshing out these smaller mountains back here. Also, did you notice that I transformed the dark area behind Knuckles into the Death Egg? The very, very silly Robotnik version of the Death Star. I'm surprised they never got sued over that, because Lucasfilm has always been very litigious about anything even remotely infringing. But I guess it infringes as much as, like, Spaceballs does, so... Yeah, it's really fun when the background details come together. I know, just as an observer of other art videos and streams, I really, really like watching someone work on a background, because I have a very specific approach to the way that I do stuff, and it's not super similar to the way that the people I watch do. So I'm always really surprised when I watch other people do backgrounds. It's kind of, you know, what I describe on here as the world's slowest magic trick, where 1 minute you're watching them, you could be watching very intently, and then the next second you're like, whoa, it turned into something completely unexpected. I really, really enjoy. But I love picking away at these tiny little details, these little areas of light and shadow and color, and helping them come to life. Yeah, this is being done in Photoshop. I have been trying to make the transition fully to Clip Studio, but while I still have my CC subscription, which regrettably renewed without my knowledge earlier this year, because I was getting ready to actually end my subscription, and then like the next day, my credit card got billed, and I was like, well. But I did the classic thing that you can do if you have a Photoshop subscription of going and threatening to cancel it, and they will immediately give you a bunch of like free months, which is nice. Yeah, that paste bin is out of date. Only there was a way to link to... There's no way to link to like a Twitch panel, right? I guess I could just link it to like my Twitch page and say like if you type in supplies, it would say my supplies are all listed on my main Twitch page. I should change it to just say that, because they're all listed there. It's like not a huge deal. Like it doesn't have to be on a separate website. It's a little I'm being kind of archaic doing it that way. I gotta get with the times. I'm trying to think, actually, how much of my life has existed with the internet as compared to without. And I think I have passed the line. I definitely have, because I think I started using the internet when I was like 14, 15 years old. It's about when we got dial-up back in the day. And now, regrettably, I am much more than twice that. The way that the drone sounds under this song always reminds me of that Snoop Dogg song where it goes, Snoop. And now you know what I'm thinking about. Absolutely not. 10,000 bits. Ransom for karaoke stream. I definitely remember both types of floppy disk. I remember zip drives and jazz drives. I remember mini discs. I remember playing programs from a cassette tape. How many of y'all are that old? I definitely had a lot of stuff saved to, like, the little hard floppy disks. A lot of programs, a lot of MIDIs. I used to make a lot of MIDIs when I was a kid. Big music nerd. I do. I had a few movies on Laserdisc. Who here remembers being alive in the 80s? Not just that you were alive, but a bunch of memories from the 80s. Because I have several. I remember wearing very neon shorts in the late 80s. The ultimate test. There was good short options. If you were into neon, late 80s, early 90s was the place to be. The early 200s. Lyra has been outed as a time traveler. I always try to save the absolute tastiest parts of a painting until near the end. I still have a bit more to go on this painting before I'm satisfied with at least the rough state. Because usually for prints and bigger paintings like this, I like to do a little bit of finish off stream just so there's a little less pressure on overthinking it. But the part I'm most excited about is this mid spot. It's exactly where Knuckles is. The lighting, especially surrounding Knuckles with ambient light and sharp direct light. That's going to be the real treat of this piece. And the reason why it has to be so big, because some of these light beams are actually going to be very small. Like the one in the back is just a little line, but it's a really bright light. Travels over and across. And then, of course, on the other side, similarly, there's going to be light coming in. The light's going to be direct across like this. So it's hitting harshly on this surface, on little Knuckles. This is where I start planning and mapping those things. I shouldn't draw too much before I'm unable to undo. I'm actually going to go to a new layer and try to highlight some of the ideas, because this is what I would refer to as the second planning stage, when you're pretty deep on a painting and you have to step back and you have to reevaluate. Now, if it's a really big, really fancy painting, sometimes you do this multiple times during the process. So I like this quite a bit. I might even brighten up the overall value on the edge of this, because it's a really good offset for... Actually, I'll leave these marks up. It's a really good offset for what we have in the back with the Death Egg, and then the darkness, and then Knuckles. And then we've got this line of light, because I'm actually going to increase the light here. So I'm going to bring some sunshine and really boost the light streaming over these mountains. So this casts a big shadow down here until it gets to about here, and then this is where the light is going to start really popping, which means this shape here is entirely in shadow, but it can't be complete. Like, there's going to be light shining through like this and like through here. So I'm planning out these pieces of light here that are going to come in and around, and then this will be lit down here, casting these big shadows. So I want to change so that the shadow actually goes here. I have a bit of non-shadow currently. So first things first, I want to increase the light value in the sky. So I'm going to go back to the sky and then really find a color to boost. Get all the way up to the max. You can do this with saturation to help these things punch through. And then just some pure bright white. Especially up against this dark surface here, and really push the idea of those light colors coming through. So from there, we can bring this light in and pretty boldly just markate where those are down around like this. I'm going to bring light to this area down here, but I'm going to bring shadow in here. All this I'm going to block through. Of course, that's all backlit. And then as a bit of an extra treat, we can have some sunlight coming through this little crook, which is one of the reasons why I started to develop this shape here. In addition to it just being a dynamic shape, and dynamic shapes are helpful in a composition like this, it allows me to make this tiny little area where the sunlight can come through. Have a bit of a blast. Where the lightest tone meets the darkest tone in the shadow, that's where the high saturation colors live. So I'm just putting in that really, really deep red that's actually an undertone from beneath the painting, if you remember way back when we first did the color study for this thing. So now I've got that set up. And now I can really make the light colors over here much lighter now. I want to make it kind of a combination. I don't want to go full into that, like full tilt yellow, but I want to make this brighter. Because it is being hit by that sunlight, and most notably, it's being hit by direct sunlight from the back, which is very important, because that creates a very specific effect with this backlighting here. Hello, Rubber Duck Bride. Yes, this is all from this stream here. We started with, I think I still have the original sketch in here. Nope, those are my weird marks. There we go. So this is the first thing I did today in the stream. I made this little sketch kind of showing a rough idea of where I wanted to go. Then I did a color study on top of that, and then I made the canvas really, really big, and I drew in the Fighting Freak Knuckles right here. Look at that little guy. What a guy. And then I did this painting here, and now I'm sort of doing a cleanup paint over, which is a pretty big difference at this point. You can see pretty big difference. And there's still a little ways to go. Refreshing, delicious water. Okay, so I'm gonna go back into the shadows. And reestablish the lighter tones in the shadows, because not just dark all the way through. Now I also need to remember not to neglect the blue that I had placed way back when I was doing my color study, like 135 years ago when I was doing that. I put in those little, you can see over here, these little patches of blue, and those are coming back in a big way. Here and here. want to push the dynamism a bit more in these clouds. Good night, Lyra. Stretch time. Thank you. All right, run and stretch it out. Shoulder is stiff. Forgot how like taxing it is on the body to work on the Cintiq. Kind of hunch over a little bit. It's not great. Now is the time to stretch. So what are y'all up to this evening? Anyone out there working on anything? Y'all doing some art stuff, or are you chilling out tonight? Guess it is a Saturday, right? Drawing your OC, that's fun. Sketching before your stream, also very fun. I think after this, I'm probably going to settle in with some video games. I might pop into Final Fantasy, see what's going on. Ooh, my favorite Final Fantasy. That is a really good question. Classic Final Fantasy, I'm gonna say Final Fantasy VI. 3 over here in North America. Has a very, very special place in my heart. And for like modern Final Fantasy, 14 easily. 14's such a good game. If you like MMOs, which I do. I would absolutely stream 14 sometime. Probably not after a really long art stream, but for the future, yes. I actually have been thinking a lot about starting to stream games on non-art stream days, or on art stream days like at night. I think a lot of the games that I would like to stream are like RPGs and things. I like to read dialogue, do character voices and stuff. What I used to do way back when I did Let's Plays. So maybe something like that, but honestly, I don't know. Mostly chill games, I think. When I think about the games that I tend to play a lot off stream, I never know if anyone would find them exciting to watch. I mean, a lot of people honestly on Twitch watch Final Fantasy XIV. I don't know why I'm self-conscious about that one for some reason. I should honestly just do it. Hello, hello. Thank you. I'm having a really nice time. We're about to wrap up this work in progress for now. Especially with a canvas this big, it's also a really good idea to take your eyes off of it for a while. Because if you've been staring at a piece of art for 3 to 4 hours, chances are you are too lost in the sauce and you need to just recalibrate your eyeballs. You gotta, like, stare at something else. And then when you come back, you'll immediately see things you'd like to change, or even the opposite of that. Some stuff you're like, whoa, that looks way better than I thought it did in the moment. Because sometimes when you're working on something, you can get real down on it and be like, it's not working. I don't understand why it's not working. And sometimes you feel that way just because you've been staring at it for so long. Get in your own head. All right, this is where we will leave it for today's stream. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming and hanging out with me today. Thank you for the follows and the subs and the gifted subs. You're all the best. I'll be back on Tuesday. No, Monday. I'm still not used to Monday being added to my rotation, but it rocks. We'll be back on Monday with even more art. It's another wild card day, so I don't know what I'll be doing, but it's probably going to be gouache paint. So if you want to see some paint, come back for that. And yeah, have a great evening / morning / whatever it is, wherever you are. And I will see you on Monday. Goodbye, everyone.